Today I'm going to talk about auto cues, what they are, how they're used, and how you actually program them into your show file on a EOS console. So an auto cue, like the name would imply, is a cue that's followed automatically after the cue before it has completed. The most common application for this would be in a theater setting. You've got a moving light on in a scene, and then you have it on in a different position in another scene. So you need to find a way to move that light in the dark, as they say, with the intensity off, so that when it comes up in the next time it's called, it is not chasing across the stage. It just fades in like all your conventional lights would. So let's take a look at how we do that. Let's call up channel 161, which I have a Chauvet R2 wash light. It's a moving light. And let's go into the moving light control and see how we actually implement this. Now that we're actually in the moving light control, let's look at how we address this movement problem. If you look right here, we have a thing called position blink. What position blink does is it turns the lamp off before the moving light moves, which would sound like it would solve our problem, but the issue with this is it's called blink, and if you think about your eye, it's going to close very quickly when you blink. So when you've got conventional lights on a 5 count of intensity down, the blink becomes very obvious, and it's almost as bad as the light chasing across the stage. So a couple solutions: you could have all the lights go to an intensity 0 count, but in theater that's not really what you want. You like the fade out of one cue into another, kind of blend from one position to another. So that's where auto cues come into play. So let's take this light for an example. Obviously you have more lights on in a cue, but let's just look at this to see what actually changes in an auto cue. Let's put the intensity in at full, put it in a position over here, and put it in a blue color. Right, so let's say that this is the look we have in Q1. So we'll go ahead and record Q1. Right, and in this first instance, let's say that that light doesn't come up again for a while. We have a little bit of time before we have to call it again. So what we like to do is in Q2, in the next cue it's going to be out, but let's keep it in the same position and same color. So all we're doing in this cue is fading the light out, just like a source 4 or any other conventional light. So we'll go ahead and record Q2. And then we'll make an auto follow of 2.1, which is where we'll put the light in the new position, new color, and new zoom. So when we call it up, it just fades in like all the other conventional lights. So we'll call up channel 161 again. Make sure the intensity stays at off. Let's say the next position is over here. And we go to an amber look. And let's say for this example, we also zoom it out and it becomes a very wide wash light instead of a small special for some reason. Okay, so we'll record this as Q1 or 2.1. And now we'll go in and make it an auto follow. So if we go into our playback, and I'll go ahead and label this so we know what's what. We'll put ML for moving light. So moving light on. This will be moving light off. Then we'll label this as auto, moving light move. Now for some reason, let's say all of these are on time counts of 5. So we've got intensity on 5, color at 5. And the intensity on 5. Now because the only thing we're doing in 2.1 is moving this light in the dark, we can make these all 0 counts. So we'll go here. And we'll make the focus, the color, and the beam all 0 counts. It can snap because nobody's actually going to see it. So now what we want to do is go back to Q2 and assign what we call a follow. So you've got a FW/HG. That's a follow and hang. Here in this instance we're going to use a follow, which is a follow cue which automatically runs the cue after it. So when you click follow, it'll tell you Q2 follow, and then the time you enter is how long you want 2.1 to wait before it's fired. Because we want it to do it in the dark, we're going to wait the whole 5 seconds of that cue. So now what we have is we have Q1 that comes up in 5, then Q2 comes up in 5, and then 2.1 waits 5 seconds for Q2 to complete, and then snaps that channel 161 we were messing with into the new position. Now let's say this next Q, let's say in the next scene, scene 3, or Q3, we bring that light back up. So let's go back over to our moving light controls, call channel 161 up, and it has all the same properties from 2.1. The only thing that's changing is we're doing intensity at full. Let's actually make sure we're in Q2.1. Okay, so now we're in Q2.1. And now we're in these movements. You can see that it's changing from blue to amber, and we're back in that position, and the zoom's at full. So we're going to bring intensity up and record Q3. Okay, so now we're back at the live tables. We're going to watch what happens to these parameters when we go through the Qs. So we're sitting in Q0. When I go to Q1 go, it's going to bring up the first look with the intensity and the pan and tilt in the first position and our color. Now when I go into the next Q, Q2, we're actually firing Q2 and then automatically following Q2.1 with the auto Q. A couple things to pay attention to. Watch these intensities, the intensity, pan, and tilt. But also I want you to watch this duration and then the follow hang. So I'm going to hit Q2 go. We've got the duration of 5 seconds with the parameters changing up here. And then we've got the follow hang. So let me go through that again. So we're in Q1. So Q2 is changing the intensity, and these stay the same. We go intensity out, and then we snap to the pan and tilt. What this down here is showing is when we're in Q1. So this duration should look familiar to you because that's how all Qs go. We can see the intensity, time, focus, color, beam, and the duration of the whole Q. What's new is this follow hang. So we've added 5.5 seconds. So it's waiting, it's counting down the follow, and then the duration of the Q is complete, the follow is complete, and then you can see we go into Q2.1 automatically without hitting go. So that's how you make auto Qs in the EOS software.